Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Motor Spirit EG6. I've been gone for a few weeks, I'm sorry. If you really want to hear some excuses, look back to the previous episode, because I've done one on a different car for once. Yeah, but we're back with the EG6 today. I've got this afternoon to get some jobs done. I've not really been doing a lot of great interest recently. But I've got a few jobs to do today, so we'll go through that, and I thought I'd give you a quick update on what's happened with the car over the past few weeks. Nothing major, but a few odds and sods. It's just started to rain outside. I've got to take the car out today. So let's have a look at what I've been up to, and then we'll crack on with a few jobs. So the main change really at the moment is the fitting of a fuel pressure gauge. Now, I was worried that the fuel pressure was running high. So I just bought a fitting that I could put on the end of my fuel filter, as you can see down there, and obviously that's got a 1/8 NPT thread that I could screw that gauge into. I'll be looking to move that down the line. I've ordered a new fuel rail and a fuel pressure regulator, but to cover me for the interim between that arriving, because it's got to come from the States, I've bought a second-hand AEM fuel pressure regulator. So we put that on. Well, sorry, before I put that on, the fuel pressure, idle fuel pressure, was nearly 60 psi, which is obviously through the roof. And you could see that from the fact the car was pumping up black smoke, which is a clear sign of running extremely rich. So hopefully I've not induced any bore wash or completely choked up my spark plugs, but it runs fine now. Obviously I fitted that fuel pressure regulator, tuned it down to around about 40 psi idle pressure. And that's where it's at the moment, and it seems to be much better at idle. I've not run it up yet properly. That'll be tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to take the car to a local rolling road and just tweaking that fuel pressure, make sure the air to fuel ratio is good, especially at the top end, so we're not leaning out or running too rich and killing power. So that was sort of my main bugbear that I've sorted over the past week. Obviously that's only really a 5-10 minute job to put it in. The only other thing I've done is put in a new brake line. So after the wiring job and I managed to arc a brake line against a battery cable, you can't really see it. I suppose you can. I've just routed a Cupro nickel pipe down and fitted a bulkhead fitting instead, so if I have any future issues it'll be much easier to swap out two halves instead of a single piece of pipe that runs through the bulkhead. And obviously that now comes down the inside of the car, so yeah, that now runs down from under there. Hopefully you can see that okay, and then obviously up to the bias valve, and then I've decided to keep the current fire extinguisher because I've still got 3 years left on it. I need to get it serviced, but saving me 600 quid buying a new one at the moment. So I've obviously rerouted the pull cable into the dash. Yeah, and that's it really. Like I say, I've just been doing odd jobs and there's been nothing really of great worth to show you, and I can only apologise for that really, but I'll be sure to be bringing you more good stuff down the line. Obviously the race season starts in just over a month's time, so we'll certainly be looking forward to that, and I've obviously got a few other ideas in my head of what I want to get done with the car as well, but we'll cover that later on. Jobs that I've got on today, again, nothing major. I want to do a quick oil change on the car. Just it's not been changed since last year, not that it's ran hard since last year. And another thing I want to do, so every time the car gets scrutineered for the racing, the scrutineers will always tug on this boot section because it's got nothing that physically holds this section down. Now it's not been picked up yet, but all I have is the top hatch which holds it down on these spring clips. Now it is pretty secure, but what I'm going to try and do is, so I've bought these little pop button pieces, so I'm hoping to fit probably in the corner there, and then that will secure that part of the boot down, and I've got a bit of space behind to bolt through and make it work. The only difficulty is that obviously as the boot comes up it moves on an arc, so I've got to try and make it locate pretty accurately. But yeah, other than that, want to do an oil change. I've just got to tuck up a couple of fuel lines, so I'll get the car on the ramps, just tuck a fuel line out the way from the exhaust, and obviously it now comes out the side. and throw the dash back together. That is pretty much it. The only other job I've got to get done, but I'm still waiting on a part, is the fitting of a bigger heater unit for the windscreens. So the current one I've got is like a micro 2.2 kilowatt heater. So I've upgraded, well, I've bought this hopefully upgraded unit, which is a 3.5 kilowatt unit. It's got a bigger radiator on it. It's hopefully got a bigger fan inside, so it'll have a bit more juice behind it to pump out some hot air to be able to clear the windscreen, because I'll cut to some footage of the sort of McDonald's sign windscreen that I get of mist on the inside. Yeah, it doesn't help the fact the windscreen is pretty battered. It's full of tiny little stone chips on the outside, and it's got some welding marks and burns on the inside. So I'm probably going to get the windscreen replaced fairly soon as well, just so in the good a state as possible for the car not misting up. Yeah, that's what's going on. So I'm going to crack on doing this boot. We'll go through. I'm hoping it's not going to be too hard, but we'll probably fit the pop button piece first, and then see about locating the bolt behind. I'm not too sure really. We'll have a think now and work it out. We'll get them in, and that'll be the boot secured, and then we'll do a quick oil change and tuck up them fuel lines, and that'll probably be me for the day. This is my V8 van that I used to tow my race car around with. I do want to run a little side series on this because I love this van. It's just obnoxious, I suppose is a word for it. Others would call it a bit rapey. Yeah, but that's that. It's developed a really shitty driveline vibration, so I'm going to try and have a play of that today as well. Okay, enough chatting. I've talked a lot, so let's get on with these pop buttons. That is what they're called. Don't know, whatever the things are that hold the boot down. Let's do it. Okay, so that's the pop button installed. It's not quite where I wanted it. Unfortunately, because there's this area behind, it was pushing the drill bit across, which I didn't notice. But, you know, it's still not too bad. It's still pretty well squared in that corner, just a few millimeters out. So, not the end of the world. So, now what I'm looking to do is pop that in there and try and work out where this can go. See, now that is already pulling it a bit too much off of its angle there, which is annoying. Okay, let's work out where we're going to put this bolt and then drill a hole. Alright, so I had to drill another hole, which is pretty disappointing, but that's in there now. It's a little bit wobbly, but yeah, it's pretty much how it's going to have to be. And that is now just about lines up where I want it. And yeah, it sits flush. Obviously you can move this in and out as you need to pull this in and out. There is a little bit of, or a fair amount of play, like once that ball is in the socket, there's probably 3 or 4 mil of in and out play. So you want to make sure that there's something springing back to keep it in place. So I've got the rubber seal that kind of pushes back. But yeah, that's fine. That seems to work quite nice. So that's one done. I also managed to just file out this side of the hole to move it across, so it sits in there nice and square now. Yeah, happy with that. That's all that's really needed. Right, so learning from my mistakes on the first one, I'm going to cut out this section first over on this side, and then we'll put the hole in it. Hopefully we can get a nice square round hole, and you know what I mean, and put that in, and then I'm hoping if we get that in the same position, it should be which is right in that corner, a similar place to drill the hole. But let's get the bottom in, and we'll see where it sits. Alrighty, that's that job done. That was a little bit more awkward than I thought it was going to be. So I thought I had a bit of an epiphany on this side. Let's just undo it. So obviously we've got that one mounted, it's pretty straight and actually not too bad. And I thought I had a bit of an epiphany by mounting it, by putting a riv nut in on that flat section there, and then putting a lock nut down. Now that obviously did work and it held it nice and tight. But I've had to bend this right out, and actually going back through that hole where the other one's mounted probably would have been better, because I've had to bend the pin. I think really the best way of doing that would have been to make a bracket that sat forward. Yeah, so really I think to do that, to have them pins working properly, you want to be coming off a flat face to a flat face, if that makes sense. So the button head isn't at an angle going onto the pin. If they were both coming kind of on a flat surface, it'd work fine. Yeah, but it's worked in my case, it's just not exactly how I'd want it. Okay guys, I'm pretty much going to call it a day there. All I've done since is change the engine oil, so not a lot going on. Yeah, so tomorrow I'm taking the car to get it put on a dyno. It's going on a Maha dyno, M-A-H-A, not sure. But it's basically the kind of dyno that our series governing body likes us to use. It's not an officially sponsored one, if you like, but we should be pretty close to give me an idea of the figures that my series is looking for to give me a power to weight ratio. And obviously tune in the fuel pressure regulator. Yeah, so I'll keep you up to date with that, see what sort of numbers we make and see how the car's running. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you next time, and look out on the Facebook page at Team Motor Spirit for the numbers with, you know, I'll stick up a picture of the dynograph and stuff on there for how we get on tomorrow. Alright, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.